So what I like to do, guys, I like to flip right in these little stick ups right here. You got these old stumps and these old limbs. Really jig it nice and easy around there. Look at that. Just like that, man. That's what we're looking for. Noodling in these crappie like this. Hey guys, Eric with Blue Line Fishing. Welcome back to the channel. Your time's important to me as always. And what we're going to do in today's time is we're going to do a little crappie fishing and a technique I like to call noodling. Stick with me. I think you're going to enjoy this. So guys, what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to keep this bait in the strike zone for as long as I can. So what I'm doing, I'm using a 10-foot rod, ultralight reel, and the key in this is the 10-foot rod that helps give me that vertical presentation where I can keep that bait in the strike zone longer. A few minutes prior to this footage, I'd caught a crappie here, so I started really working the area, 1 to 4 foot of water, and I'm just trying to noodle in and around all these little stick-ups you see, lay-downs, and I'm trying to keep that bait just barely jigging a little bit up and down here, but really keep it in that strike zone for as long as possible. Like I said a second ago, one of the keys to this technique is using a long rod. This is a 10-foot rod that I'm using, but if you got a 12-foot rod or one of the really long 15-foot telescoping rods, those are perfect. It allows you to flip that bait out there, noodle it around this structure, whether you're fishing stumps or brush piles or laydowns, and keep that bait in the strike zone longer. Because this particular day, the crappie did not want a bait that was being kind of cast to them, jig back in, or fast moving. They wanted something that sat in front of their face until they decided that they were going to take it. And by using a longer rod, it allows you to keep that bait in there for as long as you want to. So one of the areas I really like to concentrate on when I can find them, one of the targets I like to hit is isolated structure. You can see to the right of the screen here, nice long open bank, but there's a stump pile here, and this long rod allows me to pitch in there and then noodle around that stump pile and work it slow and methodical. I'm kind of just jiggling the rod tip here, giving that little bait just a little bit of action, and it really allows me to work those little pieces of isolated structure. I won't get into colors or styles of baits too much in this video. I've got another video that'll cover that, and I'll leave a link down in the description for you guys. But one of the things I do like to do is use some type of straight tail bait, whether it be a broomtail bait or something like the Bobby Garland shad, something I can use that has a real subtle action. I don't do as well with a curly tail or a paddle tail style bait. I really like to use those just more subtle baits with this vertical presentation. So guys, one of the other things I'd say is if you've never tried this technique and you're having a day where the bite is slow, because this particular day I was not hardly catching any fish for the first hour and a half, fishing kind of a traditional method crappie fishing, but I switched over and started using this longer rod and this vertical approach and really did well. I mean, this particular day I caught over 40. You know, I kept what I needed or wanted for dinner, turned the rest loose, but with that being said, had a nice mess of crappie, and it's one way that you can get in there and really work those areas a little differently than everybody else is doing normally. And I would say too, if you get in an area that looks really like it should be holding crappie, I would cast in there multiple times. There's times that I would find a piece of isolated structure or an area that looked really good, and I was casting there 4 or 5 or 6 times, or pitching there 4 or 5 or 6 times before I was getting a fish. But just be persistent with it. So with this technique over the years, I've found that the tighter in you can be to that structure you're fishing, the better off you are. And once again, the great thing about this technique is that you're fishing it more vertically than you are horizontally, so you don't have to worry about getting as hung up as much. Are you going to get hung up? Sure you will, because you're fishing in structure. But with that being said, you can really get in tight to these pieces of timber or brush or whatever it is that you're fishing, and really take your time working up against those pieces of cover, because I found that I get a lot more strikes, I catch a lot more fish when I'm using this technique and getting it in tight as close to that cover as I can possibly get. I'd also add with this technique, you can fish ultralight lures. I mean those really small micro baits, because you don't have to worry about casting them. You're just pitching, flipping, and then noodle them in and around the cover. Hey, if you got something out of today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out. Also, you can hit that bell notification button to get notified anytime I upload new videos. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. And remember, until that next video, get out there and fish.